How's it going, everybody? I hope you're doing great today. Welcome back to that car vlog channel. If you don't already know, my name is Andy, and the vehicle I have for you today is the all-new, fully redesigned 2025 Chevy Equinox RS. Chevrolet debuted their first generation Equinox in 2004 for the 2005 model year. It is now 20 years later, and the Equinox is entering into its fourth generation with this 2025 model right here in the second half of 2024. So if you've been wondering about the new 2025 Equinox, buckle up. We're going to go for a full inside and outside tour of this thing, as well as a test drive, so I can show you all just exactly what this brand new Equinox is all about. But before we do that, I'd like to give a special shout out, huge thanks to the folks at West Chevrolet here in Alcoa, Tennessee, for allowing me to use this brand new 2025 Equinox RS for today's review. Once you're done watching this video, make sure you check the description below where you'll find a link to their website so you can check out their amazing inventory, send them some business, tell them that Andy from that car vlog channel sent you, because these are amazing people for letting me use their vehicles for these reviews. All right, let's get back to it. We'll start off here on the exterior, looking at the overall design of the car, starting with the side profile of this car as a whole. Check it out, it's actually a pretty good looking car. Not very big, not very long, which is pretty much how the Equinox has always been. It's always been sized somewhere in between a compact and a mid-size, and that's pretty much still the case with this 2025 model, even with, you know, all vehicles getting a little bit bigger over time. Now this here example is in black, so it's going to be a little bit hard to see some of the color contrast. I think I've got another one over there. I can throw some pictures up if I need to at certain points in the video. One part I want to focus on right here is actually here in the back here on this C-pillar behind the rear doors. Check out this piece of bodywork, how it just comes right up, makes this interesting shape in front of the rear glass. The actual window part starts right about here. So you got this massive C-pillar right there behind the rear doors. It seems to be a bodywork theme that Chevrolet is going with in their new model crossovers. We just saw this in the brand new 2024 Traverse, and we're seeing it here now in the 25 Equinox. As we come down here, you got some plastic cladding here, some fender flares, whatever you want to call them, and more plastic cladding down here on the bottom side of the doors. It looks okay, I guess. It'll provide a little bit of contrast on vehicles of colors other than black. And here on the RS, you got these 19-inch black wheels with these milled silver accents right there, kind of on the outer edges right there. They're actually pretty good looking wheels. I do definitely like the way that these look. They remind me a little bit of the wheels on the Blazer EV, but I do think these look a bit better. Actually, a lot better. Right here on the driver and passenger front doors, you got your model badge right here. This one being, of course, Equinox. This is what Chevy's doing in most of their crossovers now. It is a blacked out badge, so it's very hard to see against a black car. Bit easier to see when you look at it on a car of other colors, of course. Look at your side view mirrors. You do have body color matched mirror caps and some cameras on the underside for your 360 camera. And up top here is your roof rails. You do also have the option to get crossbars to go in between them for loading luggage on top of the car. Does anybody still do that? Now we're gonna make our way around to the nose of the new Equinox, where you're gonna see another theme Chevy started to go with, which a lot of the car industry is going with. Here you got your daytime running lamps up here up top, right under the hood. Come down here, you got this pod here that's got your LED headlight and your fog light right down below that. As we come across, you got your blacked out Chevy badge and your front facing camera right here, RS badge off to the left. Now the parts of this front end, they're always gonna be black no matter the color, is of course all of your grille inserts. Those are always gonna be black. Your lower grille portion is going to be black, and of course your headlight pads are always going to be black, and once again that Chevy badge. I will go ahead and throw up right now a picture of a red one they've got here on the lot so you can better see the color contrast on the front of one of these things. But stepping back, looking at this is actually a pretty good looking front end, somewhat aggressive, definitely the most interesting and aggressive front end that Chevy has ever had on the Equinox. And even here in the rear, your new Equinox is a pretty good looking car. We're going to start up here on the top, right above the rear glass, where you can see here's the camera for your digital rear view mirror camera system. Now because this is up there, Chevy did go ahead and put the rear wiper down here on the bottom of the window, very out there and obvious. I do wish there was a way for them to have figured out how to tuck it up in there and make it look a little bit cleaner, but not a big deal. The benefits of having this here definitely outweigh any benefits of having the wiper up there. Coming down here, you got your blacked out Chevy badge and your new taillight design, which looks really good. I'll talk about that one specifically here in just a second. Come down, your blacked out Equinox and all-wheel drive badges over here, and your RS badge right over here on the passenger side. Of course, reflectors down here on the bumper, and your parking sensors, as you'd expect in any vehicle. Looking a bit more detail at your taillights, here you can see I've got the running lights on right now, the taillights. You can see that upper and lower portion of the parts that light up. Brake and turn right here off to the side. There's your brake, and here, of course, is your turn signal. Turn that off. And right in the center is where you're going to find your reverse lights. right there on the hatch part of the light. Pretty neat design. I do like the way these look. They do look, at least on the edges, like a form of what I called the waterfall looking design in the new Traverse. But I do like the way these lights look. Not too bad, Chevy. Now, before I wrap up here on the outside of the car, let me talk about the different trims and some of the appearances available on these trims. Now, you have 3 different trims of your new 2025 Equinox. This one right here, as far as I can tell, sits right in the middle. And I'll tell you why it's as far as I can tell here in a second. This, of course, again, is your RS trim. This is your more street going, more fun, sportier trim, I guess you could say, of the new Equinox. Good looking car. This one is in all black, although you can get other colors. I did see on Chevy's website that they also offer the option to have a 2-tone black roof up here on top of the car to give you a little bit more color contrast, black up here and a different color down here. Obviously, you wouldn't select that option on a black car. It's all black anyway. If you step down one trim below this, you've got the base trim, the LT trim. Now, your LT trim is the only trim that's available in what Chevy's calling the Midnight Edition. And this thing is all black. I mean, everything, the body, the grille, the badging, the wheels, nothing is not black on the Midnight Edition of that car. It's a really good looking design, but you can only get it on the lowest level LT trim, unfortunately. Then you step up to what I guess should be considered the top tier trim, although it starts at the exact same price the RS does, and that is the first ever active trim of the Chevy Equinox. This was kind of cool because it comes with a retuned suspension to make it just a little bit more capable off-road. We're not talking about hardcore off-roading, don't think that. But it comes with that retuned suspension. It also comes with trim-specific 17-inch tires rather than these 19s on all-terrain tires. And it gives you the option to have a white 2-tone roof, which is actually pretty good looking. It's pretty much this car right here, but it allows you to do a little bit more mild off-roading. Like I said, you're not going to climb over boulders or probably even large rocks with that thing. But if you just want to get out on the dirt and have a little bit more capability, it is offered in all-wheel drive. So you can have yourself just a little bit more fun off the pavement with that active trim. All right, time to step on into the interior of the 2025 Chevy Equinox RS. And starting here on the door card, as I always do. Of course, you got a little bit of soft touch right here on the armrest. It actually continues up here a little bit. A couple of different textures going on here. This one's more of a design than a texture. Of course, you got your silver door pull with some memory seat settings and locks right there. Standard array of stuff like power mirrors, power windows, little bit of piano black right here next to that. Not very much, so you're not going to get too many fingerprints on your doors, but you get a few. Just one line right here of contrasted stitching, both in red and blue. I do kind of like that. Chevy also did that in the Blazer EV RS, which I thought was a cool touch, and is here in the Equinox RS as well. I do like that. Get some door pocket storage down here as always. Button here to release your rear hatch, and a basic speaker grill right here for your basic 6-speaker sound system, which is the only system that I saw available in the new Equinox. Nothing fancy, no Bose or anything like that, just a standard 6-speaker system. It sounds decent, but it's not a Bose. Nothing going on here on the door sill, pretty plain right there. You do have fully adjustable power seats here with some contrast on them right here. You see they are mostly black, they are perforated because they are heated and cooled. And then you get this neat little red accent right here, kind of perforated red and black. Well, I think that looks kind of cool. Some red stitching here, red and blue up there. So make your way up the seat back, you get more of the red and blue stitching with some red piping, more of that red black dotted accent. I really think that looks good. That's a pretty sporty looking seat. I do like that. And up here on the headrest, you get RS stamped into it with some of the blue contrast stitching around that. It is actually a pretty good looking seat. Obviously, it's not an insanely sporty seat. It's not heavily bolstered to hold you in. This is a sporty-ish trim, not a sports car. But it is a pretty comfortable and pretty good looking seat. We'll move in a little further from the seats here and talk about your center console. First off, starting down here on the bottom, you get a pretty decent storage space right down here. It's not huge, it's not the biggest mid-console storage space I've seen, but you can definitely get some things down here, maybe a small purse, you know, stuff like that. Stuff you don't want rolling around, but you don't want it immediately visible, or you don't need it right away. Good storage space right here. Coming up to the top of the console and starting in front of the console right here beneath your climate controls, you got a little storage space right here, a little storage tray with the USB A and C ports. Coming back from that, you got the wireless charger for your phone. It does drop in sideways just like this. It kind of sits down in there a little bit. Not my favorite way of doing this. Not necessarily the fact that it's sideways, but the fact that it sits in there so deep. The option to stand it up like this and charge it is not an option. What I do wish Chevy had done is maybe made it capable of charging 2 phones at once. As you can see, you can fit 2 of my Galaxy S23 in that charger while standing up. I wish they had maybe, you know, made it so that you can charge 2 phones standing up. So 1, you can better see your phone if you get a notification, and 2, you can charge 2 phones. I already know of 1 or 2 manufacturers that's already offering the option for dual wireless phone charging. Not to critique Chevy too much, but if I was to give them one, it would definitely be, you know, do something with this wireless charger. It's not bad, but I think it could be better. Coming back from that, you got your dual cup holders, and right here, your drive mode selector dial. And with this dial, you're going to choose from one of 3 different drive modes. You'll start off here in normal mode, go over to off-road mode. Yes, even the RS offers an off-road mode for some reason, and a snow and ice mode. Those are the 3 drive modes you're going to get in your RS trim. And moving back from that, here's your center console storage lid. Once again, it's black, trimmed in the 2 different colors of contrast stitching. Open that up. You get a very small storage tray right here. Here's the Chevy key for reference. That's how big your storage tray is. Looking down inside the storage well, there's not a lot to be seen. It's pretty deep. It's not very wide. There's no charging of any kind in there. It's just a decent amount of storage is really all it is. Although it does have one of the biggest release buttons I think I've ever seen in a car. Looking up here on the dash, starting on the driver's side, looking at these air vents, you can see here's a theme that Chevy definitely carried over from the Blazer EV RS here into the Equinox. And I do really like these air vents. Check out the surround here where they almost look like, I called it an afterburner looking deal in the Blazer EV review, and I'm sticking with that here. Check out the front of it here where you just kind of outline in these red lines right here. I really like the way it looks. Aim it any direction you want at all, 360 degrees. Want to turn it off, just twist it 90, twist it back 90 to turn it back on. Really cool looking vent. I do love the way those look. A little bit of red stitching going across your dash right here below the display, and it's going to continue all the way across the dash. Going over to the passenger side, we're going to have another one of those cool air vents right there. And then here's this trim piece right here in front of the passenger. This is really cool. It's that same red that you got in the air vents, and then it kind of gradually changes into this nice dark right here. So it's this gradient colored trim, which I mean, that looks really good. That's kind of cool looking, actually. Of course, you've got 2 screens right here, a driver gauge screen and an infotainment screen. We'll talk about those in a second. A couple more climate vents right here underneath the gauge screen. And down below that, physical climate controls. Everything you're going to want to do in your climate control system is physical. Check it out, everything from your cooled and heated seats right here to your fan speed. It is on buttons. I do wish it was on a knob or a slide or something. That button thing is a little bit annoying for me. I don't know about anybody else. And for your air positioning right here, as well as your circulation, defrosters, and of course your temperature knobs are over here with these little displays in the center. Everything you're pretty much going to need on a regular basis for your climate controls is physical right here. I do love that Chevy is still offering that in some other vehicles. And over here on the passenger side, open up the glove box. Literally nothing to see here, nothing special whatsoever. It is a decent sized glove box, but nothing to write home about. And now we'll make our way up above the dash to the rear view mirror, which is not just a rear view mirror, but a rear view mirror camera. And once again, like I said in a lot of my Chevrolet reviews, this is one of my favorite things that General Motors has ever done, the rear view camera. Because let's look back, you see that cabin area right there? Imagine that full of people, full of stuff on a long road trip, or God forbid moving. It's full, you can't see out. You can still see behind you with this rear view camera. And it has a little bit of adjustability too. You got these 3 buttons right here. You can adjust your brightness level. You can adjust your zoom, check it out, zoom in and out, or you can adjust your positioning up and down. So pretty configurable rear view camera. I do love this, and I hope that we get to see this in more and more new vehicles as time goes by. I know Hyundai's starting to do it, Toyota's starting to do it, a couple others. Everybody needs to be doing this right here. Up above that mirror that I worship so much, you got your basic stuff here you come to expect. Of course, here's your dome lights right here, sunglass holder right there, and here's the controls for your panoramic sunroof and shade. Now looking straight ahead from the driver's seat at the steering wheel, check out this RS specific wheel, specific because it is the only trim that gets the flat bottom steering wheel right here. You also got your RS badge right there, and that contrasted red stitching running all the way around the wheel. It is a good looking wheel. You got your blacked out Chevy badge right here, and you got your basic controls right here for on-screen controls, heated steering wheel, phone, voice controls, that kind of thing. On the left side, you got all the controls for your cruise control and whatnot. Looking beyond the wheel, on the left here, you got the stock with your wipers and turn signals, and on the left, you got your new gear selector stock. This is what Chevy's starting to put in pretty much all of their crossovers, and I'm sure they'll start putting it in more and more vehicles as time goes by. Pretty straightforward, just pull back and down for drive, back and up for reverse, just pull back for neutral, and for park, just push the button right there on the end. But if for any reason you need or want to keep this thing in low range gears, this is the button you're going to use right here, the L on the steering wheel. So with the car and drive, you're going to hit the L on the steering wheel, and you can see it's going to put you in that L mode right there. And then you're going to use the paddle shifters. You got up here and down here on the back of the steering wheel. You're going to use those to move up and down through the low gears, up and down. Once you're done with that, you just want to go back and drive, hit the L again. It's going to throw you back and drive, and you're good to go. You also see here on the back of the wheel, right below your Paddle shifters, you got these controls right here. This is your up and down controls for your audio volume. Chevy does this on a lot of their vehicles. They're done differently in different models, but this is what these are here. These are for your audio volume. And then these are on the driver's side, could be more for your presets, your favorites, that kind of thing. And now let's talk screens. Starting with your 11-inch driver information, your gauge cluster screen, directly behind the steering wheel. What you're looking at here is just your basic everyday layout. You got your speedometer, big digital right there in the center, your tachometer, flanked on either side by temp and gas level. Over on the left, you can see you got things like time, temperature, that kind of thing. Over on the right is where you're going to have all your audio information. And then there's this button right here on the steering wheel, which we're going to use to cycle through the different modes on this gauge screen. Now, this once again is something that Chevy's doing in a lot of their new vehicles, especially their crossovers and in the new Colorado from what I've seen. So we're going to start with this screen, hit that button, and here you get a full screen Google map right here directly in front of you on the screen with all your important information off to that left corner and down in the bottom. So you still get your speed, you still get your fuel range, that kind of thing. But you get a big full screen Google map right in front of you, so you don't have to look over to the right to look at the center screen. It's just right here where you'd be looking at your gauges anyway. I love this, and I will say this in every review until it happens. Every automaker that offers a full gauge screen should offer something like that in their cars. It's software. Hit that button again, you're going to get a screen similar to the first one, but this one is your driver assist screen. So you can see right here in the center is a picture of the car. This is going to be, of course, for your lane keeping assist and for your adaptive cruise control distance. You still get your audio information over on the right, but over on the left, you get all your important speed, RPM information, that kind of thing. Hit this button one more time. You get a more calm screen. You got a lot less going on here. You pretty much just got the most important things condensed down at the bottom with your speed right in the center. So you're not a lot of distractions, not a lot going on right there. All you want is the speed. You've got it. Hit the button again. Just going to cycle you right back to that first detailed screen that we had before. And right here in the center is your 11.3-inch infotainment screen in your new Equinox. Now, this is not the biggest infotainment screen Chevrolet has in their new crossovers. The biggest is a 17.7. This is shaped the same way, at least on the outside. Although the display doesn't go all the way out to the edge, you'll see what I mean by that in a second on a brighter screen. But let's touch on what's included in this. You get built-in Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, all the great stuff that you're going to get in most of your Chevrolet models. You got a climate button right here. It's going to take you into a redundant screen. We're going to be able to adjust pretty much everything you can down below, but on the screen. Pretty responsive to the touch, not bad at all. Over here off to the side, if you hit this button right here, you get a multi-pane display, you get your Google map over there, and you get this other pane over here. You can edit, you can tell if you want your audio, Google Assistant, that kind of thing. Of course, here's the button for your audio, where you can select from all kinds of different sources, AM, FM, USB, Alexa, that kind of thing. Of course, here's your full screen map. You can see what I mean by it not going all the way out to the edges. It is squared off. Good, nice, responsive map right here in the middle. Nice to use, but if you're a fan of the gauge map, then this will just be good for entering your destination information. Of course, here's where you're going to sync up a cell phone to it. And here's the part that I'm sure annoys a lot of people, and this is the in-screen controls that Chevy's doing now in a lot of their cars. Chevrolet, GM, I'm sure as a whole, is taking a lot of controls off the dash, buttons and knobs, putting them in the screen. So here's the button to turn your dome lights on, all dome lights at once. Your power window lockout. You got a button to get into your camera system right here, although you do have another one on the main screen. Auto high beams, park assist, fog lights, that kind of thing are right here in the screen now. The other control that's right here in the screen, if we go up top, is right here. This is for your headlights. You see it comes across the top here. You turn on parking lights, turn them on full. You got your auto, you got your off, all right here in the top of the screen. No longer is it a switch on the dash or on a stock. And then right here, you do have this button to take you into a camera system. It's pretty much the same camera system you're gonna see in a lot of your Chevrolet vehicles. Here, of course, you got a front-facing camera with a top-down view. Maybe you want a rear-facing camera with a top-down view. You got that. Maybe you want to zoom in on the nose right there. Maybe you want to zoom in on the rear end. You got that. You got that too. You also got a side view looking at both the front wheels and a side view looking at both of the rear wheels. Click this one right here. It's going to get rid of your top-down view. Click it again. It's going to put it right back. So pretty nice camera system right there. It actually looks pretty good. It's a pretty clear system. The one view that I always knock is this one right here, the one that looks back towards the rear tires from the mirrors. It is the grainiest view of them all. I don't suppose it really has to be all that clear, because the main thing is to make sure you're not hitting curbs or things or people or pets with your wheels, but it is still pretty grainy. The only physical control you're going to get for your infotainment is right here, and that is your knob that's going to turn on and off your audio volume, and it's going to adjust your audio volume. And it's not even the cool knob with the little volume level display around it that you get in the Traverse or the Blazer EV RS. And climbing on into the back seat of your new Equinox 2025, you get pretty much the same style you do up front. Here on the doors, you got the red and blue stitching in one place, although no piano black. It's just plain matte plastic right here, which is fine by me. Here, your seat design is very similar to the front. You still got that nice, cool red and black accented patch right there with your red and blue contrast stitching. Same thing here up on the seat back. You get the blue stitching on the headrest, but no RS, which is pretty common in cars. You don't get the stamping on the headrest. Your center armrest right here with a couple of cup holders. Nothing fancy there, but very functional. Here you get a matte pocket on the back of both front seats, not just one. And here on the back of the center console, you get a couple of climate vents. You do get 3-level heated seating here in the rear, which is pretty nice for an Equinox. And way down here below, you get 2 USB-C charging ports. Up above you in the second row, there's really not a lot to see. You do get the sunroof that goes all the way back over the second row passengers' heads. A couple of grab handles, some lights, but that's really it here on the second row. No third row because this is an Equinox. And now sitting in the second row of the new Chevy Equinox, and not too bad. Now this, of course, is not going to have as much room as, say, a Traverse, which is a bit bigger, or even your Blazer EV RS, which of course is an EV, which gives you even more cabin space. I do have this driver's seat in a position that's pretty comfortable for someone who's about 6 feet tall, which is where I'll be driving. So you see the legs and knees are touching the seat, although they're not crammed in here. You do get a little bit of indentation right here, which is going to allow the knees, if you pull them in, to kind of go in a little bit and not be quite as tight. Not the most space back here, but it definitely could be worse. Headroom is great. Headroom, there's more than plenty of headroom in this car. It's not bad back here. For someone like me, as big as I am, I probably am definitely going to prefer the front. But I'd say if you're an adult that can handle it, or if you've got kids, this will be just fine. All right, we're going to check out the cargo area in a second, but first we're going to talk about how to get into said cargo area. Now, you do have your typical 3 methods of getting into the cargo area of most vehicles. You got the button on the driver's door I showed you earlier. You got a button here on the key fob as usual. And of course, you got a button right here on the lift gate to raise that up. But there is a 4th option. Chevy calls their auto sense lift gate. You're going to go into your infotainment screen and activate this under comfort and convenience. Confirm the vehicle is locked, and I'm going to walk away from it a bit. Shove this key in my pocket. It does need to be on my person. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this big heavy box. It's invisible, but I promise you it's there. And then I'm going to approach the rear end of the vehicle. And once I get up close with the key fob in my pocket, it's going to sense that I'm here. Gotta wait for 4 beeps, and the liftgate is gonna open all on its own. Stick that in there, hit the button, close it right back up. Now you do have to hit the button to close it down, but who cares? You're done. This is great if you're carrying a bunch of heavy stuff, you don't want to set it down to retrieve your key fob or hit the button or whatever. As long as you have that setting active in the infotainment screen and you got the key in your pocket, it'll open the gate for you. All right, now that we've opened up our cargo area, let's take a look inside of it. And there's really not a lot to see in here. Looks like you got a 12-volt round right here to plug something into the back. A couple of cargo lights, one on each side. A couple of tie downs, you got one on each side right here. But really not a whole heck of a lot to see back here. Pick up on the floor right here, you get a little bit of underfloor storage that kind of goes way back in there, right above your actual spare tire, which is kind of nice to see. Put that back down. You do have a pretty decent amount of space in the back of this thing. Definitely nothing to complain about. But if you need more, you can put these second row seats down as you would expect. Now, there's no kind of power or even mechanical release back here. You do have to reach up and push the latches on the seats. Probably easier done from the side doors, but we can still do it from right here. Flip those latches, throw those seats down. And now you get up to 63.5 cubic feet of cargo storage space in here. So you do get a fairly decent amount of space. Obviously not as much as, say, a Blazer or even a Traverse, and especially not a Tahoe. But you do still get a pretty good amount of space in the back of your Equinox. Now, like I said, those are fully manual, so once you're done using those seats, you need them back in position, you do got to go to the sides and put them back up. All right, let's jump under the hood here and check out what's powering our new 2025 Chevy Traverse. And apparently has a prop rod and no struts. So what we got here is the only engine option you get regardless of which trim of the new Equinox you get. That is a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine producing 175 horsepower, 203 pound-feet of torque. And then this engine is mated to one of 2 different transmissions depending on whether you get all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. Your front-wheel drive Equinox gets a CVT transmission with an MPG rating of 26 city, 28 highway, 27 combined. Your all-wheel drive Equinox, as this one here is equipped, gets an 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission with a fuel economy rating of 24 city, 29 highway, 26 combined. And the cool thing about the all-wheel drive version is it's not full-time all-wheel drive. There is a button inside there on the dash that says AWD on it. You can decide whether you actually want it in all-wheel drive or not. That way you can save yourself a little bit on fuel economy and tire wear, that kind of thing, by not having it in all-wheel drive all the time, but when you do need it, all you got to do is hit that button. Towing capacity on your Equinox, as you can probably imagine, is not a whole heck of a lot. 1,500 pounds max tow on this thing. So, you know, a couple jet skis, something like that, small utility trailer, but you're not pulling a whole heck of a lot with this new Equinox. All right, and now pricing for your new 2025 Chevy Equinox. And all these prices were pulled off of Chevy's website just a couple of days ago here in late August 2024. Now, once again, your new Equinox is available in 3 different trim levels. Your first trim is your LT trim, your lowest base trim, with a starting price of $29,995. Then you're gonna step up to this, the RS trim, or the active trim, both of which have a starting price of $34,395. And of course, you're gonna add on a whole bunch of different options. This one right here's got like panoramic sunroof option, technology package, convenience package, that kind of thing. If you do want the all-wheel drive version, you're gonna add $2,000 to those base prices, making your LT start at about $31,995 and your RS and active starting at $36,395. This one here, as equipped, is an RS all-wheel drive with the panoramic sunroof and a few options. This example, as equipped, comes in right under $40,000. All right, y'all, so that's going to do it for the full tour of the new 2025 Chevy Equinox RS. Now let's take this thing out on the road and see what it's like to drive it. All right, let's get out here driving the new 2025 Chevy Equinox RS. And of course, I'll start like I usually do, talking about what it's generally like to be in this car. And you know, it's all right, it's pretty comfortable. Now, it is a somewhat small to mid-size, some might call it compact, crossover SUV. Now, you've seen the size of this thing. If you've been around previous Equinoxes, it's going to be about that size. If you've been around a Toyota RAV4, it's going to be close to that size. And if you think this is small, then just keep in mind Chevrolet makes 2 other crossovers that are even smaller than this, the Trailblazer and of course the tiny little Trax. As far as comfort, it's not bad. These seats are nice, they are heated, and more importantly, at this time of year, they are cooled. The thing on the dash says it's 86 degrees outside. God, it feels worse than that. The GoPro doesn't like it, that's for sure. And these seats are feeling good. Visibility out the back with your standard rear view mirror is okay, but let's face it, you want to use the digital, you want to use the camera because it is the superior option, in my opinion, and that of a lot of journalists. Now, I was talking earlier in the video about that C-pillar design behind your rear doors. Now, that does offer a little bit of a visibility hindrance. It does seem to be a little bit better in this one than it is in the Traverse, just based on the way it's built and the way the seats are positioned in the second row. But you are still losing a decent amount of visibility out that rear quarter window. Just something to keep in mind. Luckily, you do have the camera system in here, so if you do need to see down the side of the car, if you do need a top-down, 360 view, you've got that. So even though, the visibility is compromised, you should have this here to help mitigate that a little bit. On the subject of ride comfort, do keep in mind that this is a somewhat short wheelbase vehicle. It is a crossover, so it's going to ride more like a car, but it is a somewhat short wheelbase vehicle. And this, of course, is the slightly more sporty trim of the Equinox. So you are going to feel the bumps in the road. It's not like it's going to soak them up. It's not going to beat you up, but you are going to feel it. Keep that in mind. I would like to assume that the more off-road tuned suspension in the active trim is probably going to give you a bit softer ride, at least I would hope. Of course, they're going to have those 17-inch wheels, which those tires are going to offer a bit more sidewall, and you're going to have the off-road tuned suspension. So it's likely you might get a little bit better ride out of that, but I'd say probably not a whole lot. If you've been in one of these Equinox size crossovers that, sit in between compact and mid-size, then you know what to expect. This is transportation. This is not a luxury ride, but it's not bad. Looking around at the cabin, it's actually a pretty nice place to be for a Chevy Equinox. I do have to give this to Chevy. Despite any problems they may have with any kind of reliability, and I'm not going to go into that because I'm really not the one to speak on that too much. My knowledge of GM reliability is not enough to really start diving into that. I'm here to present the vehicle as it sits. But as far as the interior on these Chevrolet, Chevy's really been stepping up their game. And these interior designs are really nice. I mean, I really do like the way it looks inside this car. And even the exteriors. The exterior design is getting good. Chevy is getting really good with design language. Now, their trucks, especially the Silverados, I do hope they change those up a little bit. They look okay, but I think those could definitely use an update. Hopefully, they'll do that soon. I know they're working on updating, at least facelifting the Suburban/Tahoe, and looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But as far as these new crossovers, these things are really starting to look pretty good, especially here on the inside. These interiors are nice. Big, bright, vivid screens, easy to use, nothing intimidating about them whatsoever. I mean, it's a nice place to spend time. You've got all the stuff you'd expect out of this thing. Safety features such as lane keeping assist, blind spot monitors. You've got adaptive cruise control. One thing you're not getting in your Equinox is Super Cruise. You're not getting the Super Cruise hands-free driving system in the Equinox. I've not seen that as an option yet on any trim level of the car. Maybe in the future, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, although this is not a powerful vehicle, let's talk about power. Let's go ahead and give it some gas. Listen, it's a relatively peppy vehicle. It's nothing to laugh at. It's not a sports car by any means, and it's definitely going to give you some four-cylinder engine noise when you really get into the throttle, which is to be expected with a four-cylinder engine in most vehicles. If the noise bothers you, then just turn the radio on. It should be fine. You might hear it a little bit, but the radio is going to drown most of it out. It's nothing you can't put up with. Once you're up to speed and you're just cruising along, nothing to worry about, no noise whatsoever. But do keep in mind when you're under acceleration, you are going to get some noise out of the four-cylinder. It's just the nature of a four-cylinder, really. Now, another feature you're not getting in this new Equinox that you do get in the new Traverse, or at least in the RS trim that I reviewed, that I had a slightly nerve-wracking experience testing out, but it worked out, was what I believe Chevy calls their Pro Park Assist or something like that. And that is a system that will use the cameras and the sensors on the outside of the car to back into a spot to your right or to your left, or to parallel park for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. You're not going to get that on this thing, but this, of course, is a smaller vehicle, so it's a bit more manageable, although the Traverse is also perfectly manageable. But that's just one thing you're not going to get here. This, of course, is a lower level, cheaper vehicle, so there's some things you're not going to get, such as that and Super Cruise. But you do still get a lot of the creature comforts in here, such as the adaptive cruise, the heated cool seats, the heated steering wheel, all those wonderful things you get in here. There's just a few upper tier things you're not going to get. Not that I'm complaining about it all that much, though, because this is still a pretty nice way to get around. All right, y'all, so that's going to do it for the all-new, fully redesigned 2025 Chevy Equinox RS. This really is a pretty nice, we'll call it, compact SUV. The four-cylinder under the hood, no, it's not the most powerful thing in the world. 175 horsepower is definitely not a lot, but it is enough to get this thing around. It is enough for most people's daily needs. It's enough. You're not going to go fast with this thing, but it's good. That 8-speed automatic transmission, though, I do like that. It offers nice, smooth shifts. It does feel really good. If you do go front-wheel drive, you are getting a CVT, so my recommendation is get the all-wheel drive. It's only $2 grand more, and you can turn it off if you want to and just go front-wheel drive until you need it. But otherwise, I do like this thing. The outside design is much nicer than the outgoing car. It's much more aggressive. The inside is much nicer than any Equinox before. Really, Chevrolet is definitely stepping up their games with the visual design of their vehicle. They look really, really nice inside and out anymore. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was informative. And if you can say yes to either or both of those questions, then I highly encourage you to give this video a thumbs up, go back to the channel, check out the rest of what I've got. And if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep growing this channel. Once again, huge special thanks to the folks at West Chevrolet here in Alcoa, Tennessee, for allowing me to use this vehicle for today's review. Once you're done watching, hit that link in the description below. We're going to go to the website to check out their amazing inventory. Maybe you can buy a car from them, because they're awesome people for letting me use their vehicles, and honestly, they're awesome people to deal with anyways. Anyways, y'all, once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see y'all in the next one.